Hey y'all, I have got my motion set up, in a usable state. There are a few things that I'll go over that we need to cover and then kind of fix later. So, but I'd like to. I was just anxious to get it working, and then eventually fix those issues. So, but we'll do a quick demo. Kind of showing the movement of the rig, see it get out of park, and do a little drive with that. So with multiple views here, so I'll have one, obviously this view, and then the back of the rig. You'll be able to see that. So let's go and jump in a race. Now we've gone out of park. So now it's actually ready. So there's a setting to actually make that ready earlier, and I use that with the belts. I don't have that set up in LMU, so I noticed the difference when I use that profile. But anyway, throw my gloves here, and then we're in the McClaren right now. Okay, just geared that guy up. Okay, so I can actually feel it when feel it kind of like squat when I just start from scratch, or start from the pits there. And I can actually feel the rear end squat and turn in this corner over here. So, and of course when I brake, everything leans forward, my belts tighten, as it did before, of course. So I can actually feel the road harshness. I mostly have this turned down. I'll go over the settings a little later. But just for those people that are like afraid that, hey, I can't run this in an apartment, or I'm actually in an upstairs room right now. So, and I live with a very sensitive person on this kind of stuff. So if that's your case, I kind of set up my settings for that, and I still enjoy it a lot. So I would like to turn up the bass shakers a little bit to feel the engine more. On mine, when I show you the settings, I actually turn off the engine vibrations because that would make a lot of noise. So if you're in upstairs, that would cause extra noise. Some people don't like that noise. So anyway, it feels really good. I can feel really every bump. Like the rumble strips are amazing. I actually have that going through bass shakers, the belts, and also each actuator. So, and then if one tire hits it, you aren't going to feel it on one side. So, whoop, over. Missed my braking point. Oh! Okay. Talking and driving. Yes, there's damage. Okay. And I can feel it dive on the rear end. And it also gives you, kind of like on that, I'll try to go on the carousel here at Road America, where you have that, where you actually have to kind of let off the throttle quite a bit. And you can actually feel the rear end try to kick out. And there's actually a vibration in the back that does really well. That's one of those things if you're worried about going faster. So, and you can feel all those ripples, all that road harshness, and that kind of like exit right there. You can feel all that in your butt. And I do have a bass shaker under my chair, so. And I also have the haptics on the actuators. Oops. Okay, this part right here, let's try to overcook it a little bit, see if I go off the track. I didn't feel it so much there, but if I overcook it right there, I feel, and it starts sliding out, I feel that in my butt right there. You know, so you actually do feel like the wheel slip. You know, there's the settings for that as well. So I'll go over that later. So, my overall assessment, you know, one worry, you know, about comparing to others, the other platforms, is that there's a lot more travel in those other platforms, and even in their own 220, you know, there is more travel in this one, but, you know, but at a higher price point, of course. You know, but there are other budget options, you know, out there, and then maybe not so budget options, you know, that are more like 150 millimeters of travel, and instead of the 60 millimeters, which is quite a big difference. However, most of the reviews I've been going through and talking to some influencers, they generally say they turn it down anyway, and they don't get that full travel most of the time because it ends up being floaty or just too much. So, and I find like less is more in some of these things, and like my bass shakers, like I don't turn that up a lot, you know. Well, I do have to be quiet a little bit being upstairs, but you know, I don't run those at full tilt, and I'm getting everything I need on this. You know, it just gives me all the feeling I need. You know, I feel the car moving around, on braking, and when I let off the accelerator, like that, I can feel that. And then like when you're in lower gear, you know, when you're like in lower gear and you're going behind the pace car, I can really feel that. And you can feel jolts in the transmission and the drivetrain. So it just gives you this like kind of immersion factor, you know. Yeah, I felt the wheel slip right there. So, and they're right in the left rear over here. So I just love this. This is like next level. So the belts were just a massive upgrade. You know, like this was the best. That was the best upgrade. But you know, I definitely would rather. If I had to pick one, I'd pick the Motion. But they're both the immersion factor is amazing. You know, and the belts are so much cheaper. You know, and then my bass shakers, my belts, and the Motion all run the same software. So that's kind of nice. But they have the kind of like the bass shaker integration, but I'll show you that a little later. So yeah, very fun. Yep, and then each gear shift, you know, I'm feeling in all three of those haptics as well. Now, one of the things with this guy is it's debatable. You can get rid of because the actuator is so quick. You can actually use it for haptic device, not just motion. Now I do like the vibration of the bass shaker, so it gives a little different feeling. But a lot of people have just removed their bass shaker completely. You know, I might not even need the front one, just the one under the seat, just because. Now I have each corner giving me kind of like location, so still nice to feel the vibration of the pedal plate though. So, you know, but yeah, the localization is so good now. It's pretty awesome. It's worth the money for sure. You know, don't of course. Don't buy things you can't afford, but you know, it's a lot cheaper than saying buying a race car. So, still, yeah. So yeah, very nice. Anyways, I'll go over to the kind of like the software settings now.
Hey everyone, just going over this part of the video on the software side. Um, when you first launch it, when I first start up, I have it starting up, and I just launch it from my little menu right down there. So it'll launch like this. So since I have everything off, it'll just say offline, waiting for nodes in the status down here. So let's power those up. So I'm gonna power all three things up. Uh, um, the two control boxes and my BT1. All those are connected to a motion lock. So the startup procedure is to disengage the lock. Now, every time I shut it down, I engage the lock. Um, when I when I power it off, it has issues or like it'll make a thunk like I'm locking it, sort of thing. So I'd rather just lock it, be safe, um, and then power everything down. So so let's undo the lock and then kind of watch what that does. All right. So now it's doing a pre-run. So kind of does its leveling, um, and then kind of like raises it up a few out of park. Yep. Now we're centering and parking. There we go. I suppose it's not park, it's more off. And now it's parked. Until I get into a game, and then it'll raise up to, um, you know, where you start out of the pits. So, anyways, also in the software, there's like a couple different options at the bottom. So if you hover those, you kind of get the tooltip. So I run the tactile feedback, so that's the only one that's enabled at the moment. You can disable the BT1. Yep, yep. So now it's paused for um, the BT1, but and now I unpaused it. So you have that at the beginning, but the big part that we want to look at here is let's look at um, one of my iRacing kind of profiles. Um, so difference with the BT1, you actually have a overall kind of like setting. So if you set all these and you just want to turn it down for everything, you can use this slider. I don't really have that for the BT1, much less settings too, so not that big of a deal. But I do turn this down quite a bit, being upstairs. So that's one of the reasons why I can actually run this, upstairs without making too much noise. I still get really good feedback, even though I have to have it turned down there. But yeah. So I do that like 40%. I didn't mess with the sharpness too much. There are times when I want to adjust that, but most of the time that's per kind of like setting. I did bump up the roll and pitch a little bit. Um, so so if I want a bigger dive, in the brakes, I bumped that up a little bit. I wanted to feel that a little more than the initial iRacing profile has. Now each one of these I think is backed by different kind of like ace setups, and then you just adjust these sliders for what's already kind of set up, sort of thing. So each game kind of has its own, so it may react a little differently. So you probably won't have the same sliders for each game and profile. So um, anyway, so those are a couple settings I changed. Um, I didn't. I liked how these ones felt already, sort of thing. And then there's the road harshness. I turned that down because of Sebring, mostly because it was making tons of noise. So I turned that down. But it is a very cool setting, so play with that one. Um, Maybe I could have messed with the sharpness a little more, but you do feel the undulations in the road. So that's a nice setting to mess with there. Side slip. This one's pretty nice when you start feeling it to start going out of control. Um, you can kind of feel that. So this is kind of simulated in mine because I've got a 3DOF. I don't have, the actual yaw platform, but it tries to simulate it, you know, um, and it does a decent job with it, and I actually have it kind of turned down there a little bit, but I've been inching that up as I go, so still tweaking these settings, but you know, um, I'm pretty happy with these settings so far. So now let's go in the SFX. Um, so uh, let's see here. I don't really like hitting the rev limiter on this stuff. I have it blinking. I don't really have my bass shakers really doing that either. That's just a setting I just haven't really used. Suppose I could use some of that, but anyways. Now gear change I do turn down quite a bit because it does give you a jolt, and I just really want to feel it, right? So I just want to know it's there, but not really like, I don't need to go for a fair ride, I just need to kind of like feel the realism a bit, but it doesn't need to be a huge jolt giving me whiplash or, stuff like that on a gear shift, which you do a lot, so wheel slip left at default, but um, uh, yeah, these are pretty good effects just to leave on. Um, Now, one I haven't played with uh, is the wheel slip angle. I haven't played with this too much. I'll play with that in the future, but I'll report any of those changes if I see some benefits from that. I haven't needed them too much so far. I could see where this could be helpful, especially when you're pushing the limits. Start getting that feedback. I generally think on these less is more. So I've been just trying to like feel like okay, when my car does this, here are the outputs, and my car does this, here are the outputs. So if I'm missing some of those things, that's when I start playing with these settings. Um, so rumble strips, I think they're fine where they're at. Of course, like you hit rumble strips a lot, when you're hitting the curb. So yeah, especially with GTs, you hit the curbs a little more. So so you're gonna hear those rumbles. So um, violent movement, like, well, I don't want to be thrown out of it. It is a simulator. It's not a real car, but one of the things that's kind of nice about these systems is like, hey, when you don't have like even if you don't have haptics or anything, you hit the wall, it's not a big deal. You know, like this kind of says, hey, you need to be a little more careful. It kind of you get that feeling, sort of thing. Like, oh, this is a risk, to be like just chucking into the wall. So anyway, like I said earlier, I turn off engine vibration. Um, maybe if I was in the basement, I'd turn this on, but just because I noticed engine vibration in the bass shakers causes, um, a good amount of vibration that comes to the floor, so I gotta be very careful with this one. Also, it can be very noisy haptic, so it can take away from other haptics you might have. So be careful with that one. ABS, I always turn this off just because I have it in my pedal. So I like to just feel that in the pedal. Um, uh, so like when I'm driving and I hit ABS, I generally feel it mostly in the pedal, sort of thing. Maybe there's a little bit, in the seat, but for the most part, I notice the pedal just like vibrating, you know, um, in my real car. So um, uh, so I just leave that checked off just because I do it with the bass shakers. So I do that same thing in I believe I do the same thing in the belts. You know, um, Sort of thing is like, oh, I just want to feel that in the pedal. And maybe a light on the dash, sort of thing. So I haven't played too much with the LFE. I've heard that does some enhancement, but I'll ease into that one when I feel like I'm missing something. So those are the big pieces. You can also do some post processing where you can actually like make some curves, and stuff like that. Haven't played with that too much. Um, there's also a way to kind of like create your own kind of like profile in the back end with Ace. Um, but haven't needed to dive into that. I think these are good enough where you don't have to do that. It's mostly about these sliders. Um, so that's kind of like diving into STKs and stuff. So most people probably won't do that. They'll just go with these kind of like settings here. So yeah, just a quick overview of that. I'll do a deeper dive on the software as a whole, and then the different things I'm using and how I use those together. Because I've got tactile feedback base shakers, my tensioner, and 3DF motion system. So I'll go over a deeper dive of that, and then kind of other options that uh, you can use with this, like the diagnostics and such. So you can actually see the input and outputs of those diagnostics, but I'll do a deeper dive later on. All right, thank you.
All right, conclusion. Now I'd like to start with build quality. Overall, build quality is super solid, just like the BT1. One of the reasons why I purchased was because of my experience with the BT1, and then the reviews that touted that, and this reflected that. The cabinets and all the connections, the cables all shielded. Um, Pretty great. As I pointed out in one of the other videos, had issues with some of the hardware stripping out, but that's easily fixed with the hardware store. But at this price point, I was hoping that I'd have a little more solid screws, especially since I had to torque them down with a torque wrench. So that was really the only issue I saw there. One other kind of just installation, we're comparing it to, say, like the DK series from Sigma Integral. Um, they have a single box, and it's very small compared to the larger boxes, and I think that's because the servo drivers are on top of the actuators. But just a minor gripe, something you can deal with. It's nothing like some of the cheaper units where you have to have a box in the corner. And I don't like the look of the servo drivers on those either, so I'd have to hide them. So overall, I'm still happy with it. Even though they have to deal with that piece, but overall the build quality of the box is amazing. So and they look great, sort of thing. So that was really the only complaint with kind of like the setup of it. So and I really have no other complaints on operation. Um, they provide the motion lock with it. Um, they all the effects are really good out of the box. Like they give you profiles and you can get started really quickly. No messing around, sort of thing. So actuators are very fast. One concern one might have is the travel is only 60 millimeters, but I had no issues with that on road. The only time I'd probably see a possible issue with this would be when you're doing something like rally, maybe heavy banking. But I did take this on Daytona, and I'll show that a little later. You know, uh, with another feature of the software called the Screenway, similar to the VR compensation. There's static monitor compensation. I kind of show something that the banking at Daytona actually reveals. But I'll show that one a little later. Um, and we can see how their software can compensate for that. But their software has a lot of one of the reasons why you like these packages is they have all that software built up over the amount of years they've been doing this. And another thing is this is from Motion Systems out of Poland. They've been doing this stuff for quite a while, and this is kind of like their consumer division, sort of thing. But they know their stuff pretty well, and good support system. So yeah, overall, just love the system. Know it's a little more than some of the other systems, but not a lot more than say, like the Veromotion PT actuator kind of setup. More than Sigma Integrale like DK2, although this does have a little more travel. But one thing that you can do with the Qubic that you can't do with Sigma is you can add a platform afterwards, sort of thing. So Yeah, so, but yeah, super like satisfied, with the system, and it's just a blast. So, hope you enjoyed. Yeah, just I'll have a couple of follow-up videos, kind of cleanup of installing the boxes, some cable management, uh, that kind of thing to kind of like clean this stuff all up, and you can kind of see, how I dealt with the extra, with the two extra boxes there. So, with power cabinets. All right, thank you.